All right, today on the Tom Kelly Show podcast, we are going to be doing morsels from the comedy notebook and whatever else comes off the top of my head. Let's just start the darn show.
The Tom Kelly Show. Everybody, I want you to go to the Tom Kelly Show. I want you all to know about the Tom Kelly Show.
Here we go! Content warning. Spoiler alert. Oh my gosh, there's just so many ideas in my head that I hope I get through some of them. You are experiencing what will probably be an ADD edition of the Tom Kelly Show. So, I'm going to air some of the shows I've done out of order, so if the number changes on the show, I'm numbering the shows as far as production. That's something that gives me a headache. I actually skipped a number because I don't know if I want to air this now. I don't want to know if I air this now. If you've been following me, people, you know I've been overthinking this show from the very gosh darn beginning. I have. Just stupidly, and I want to point this out, that there is no episode 343. I intentionally, which is just funny, because at first I skipped it because I just thought I was going to delay airing the episode that's known as 344. And then I got superstitious because 343 is the number of firefighters that died on 9/11. And so I never filled that blank, but don't think too much about me emotionally, people. I'm not that great a human being. What am I going to also skip show 911? We could go for hours, people, okay? Am I going to skip show 1207 because that's Pearl Harbor Day? No, I'm not. But in my head, I've been weird about some of the shows are numbered, some of the shows are not. I don't even know if I've done 345 shows to date because there's a lot of shows I didn't number. So I'm rambling about not numbering shows, which is, you know what? People, I'm just doing the damn show. I just recorded a whole show about me overthinking doing the damn show. And yes, 3 minutes, 26 seconds in, we're just going to commit to it. So I have a podcast, people. My name's Tom Kelly. I'm a comedian who's fixing up his life, owning his midlife transitions, and looking for the next big thing in his life. And I have a couple of big things that have been happening. It may not be the big thing I set out for in life, but I am doing well with making fun of different Long Island towns. Now, it's weird for me to talk about this on the podcast because I know my audience is national, but I'm just going to have to trust that my national audience loves me so much that you are willing to just take the ride and laugh at things you know nothing about and mean nothing to you. You're just going to double tap and hit like because you love me. I just wish my parents and loved ones would do the same thing. How about that for a moment of morsel of truth? But for real, just hit like, share, tag celebrities, do what you can. But this is the weird thing about, again, you guys have helped me be successful with something weird. I did a video doing a joke about Merrick and Belmore, Long Island. Maybe I'll throw it in now so you can get a sense of it.
Do you know Merrick, Long Island? Not as well. It's the one town on the South Shore that looks down on Massapequa. People have been asking me to do a video ranking the snobbery of Belmore Merrick's neighborhood. Snobbery in Belmore Merrick is the same as the snobbery in Massapequa in that the people south of Merrick Road think they are better than the people north of Merrick Road. Then the people north of Merrick Road, combined with the people south of Merrick Road, think they are better than the people north of Sunrise Highway. And the people north of Sunrise Highway think the people south of Sunrise Highway, and especially the people south of Merrick Road, are all snobs. And if you're north of Jerusalem Avenue, well, you just might as well be in East Meadow. I grew up thinking that the people of Belmore look down on the people in Merrick. But now I've been told that the people in Merrick, well, they look down on the people in Belmore. Belmore Merrick, 2 towns, 1 school district. The snobbery of Belmore Merrick all boils down to where your kids go to high school. Where is the best place to live in Belmore Merrick? Calhoun High School. The home of wholesome and famous alumni, Debbie Gibson. Electric Youth! Honestly though, After 20 minutes of driving around this town, all I know for sure is I can't afford to live here, and I want to so badly.
And this is what happens is thanks to you guys, the guy Long Island Reels and Long Island Wise Guy picked up on it pretty quickly and shared it. And he has a larger audience with content than I do. Is that translating into success for me? I'm not quite sure yet, but I know the idea of if you want to go viral, you have to let the virus infect other accounts. But anyway, the joke ends with a Debbie Gibson reference. And what do you know? Debbie Gibson shared the Long Island Reels version to her 300,000 followers. But then people were reaching out to me, and then I reached out to people who saw that, and I have been invited with VIP tickets to see Debbie Gibson this Saturday at the Gramercy Theater in New York City. How about that? So, and it sounds stupid, but so far out of this podcast and my social media feed, I've gotten a sponsorship to pay for Thanksgiving and free tickets to see Debbie Gibson. And all I know for sure is this sounds stupid, people, but I mean, I did a whole podcast about the reasons I podcast. And yes, at the end, the reason is to turn this into an empire that makes me a lot of money, that provides me security in my life, and then maybe gives me enough money so I can do nice things for the people I love in my life. There you go. That's my why. And honestly, sounds like it'll be cool. I'm kind of excited. I hope I get to meet Debbie Gibson. I'm going to try to get her on the podcast. Or at the very least, I'll bring the podcasting mobile kit and see what we can do there. And that's the excitement. Because you got to remember, people, this is kind of exciting. Tom Kelly is right now famous. But only within, I'm going to try to get this. I know I've told this sort of on the podcast before, but I'm going to say it right so I can clip it down. We're going to clip it down, people. But for real, I am famous within a 1 mile radius of the center of Massapequa Park Village. Now, that means I am famous east of the 135, west of Route 110, and south of the Southern State Parkway. Did I have bigger dreams? Yes, but being famous within this 1 mile radius is nice because people have told my parents that I'm doing well in comedy, and people have told my siblings that I am more successful than they are. And that's really all I want out of show business. That, and then maybe if I need to make up a fake name. Here we go. That, and if somebody could tell Elena Gonzalez that I turned out to be great, I need to come. So here's what's funny. You guys are now taking a ride with me on the joke. What I need a sentence on is there's actually one or two girls who broke my heart in Massapequa, but I don't want to use their real name. Now, real names are funnier, but also real names get you restraining orders. Okay. Yeah, that's a great moment about comedy. That's a great thought about comedy. How do you find your truth in comedy if, like, the real truth gets you branded an a-hole? And so here we go. Ready? Because I have a funny thought. That I want to get to here. I found a segue. So here we go. I need a fake name. I just wish you people could hear me and send a fake name. If you're watching on YouTube right now, just comment with a fake name and I'll know you got this far into the show. Now, if only someone could tell Nikki DeVito of Massapequa Park that she should have married me instead of the douchebag she married, my fame is complete. My mission in life is complete. There you go. We're gonna chunk that down into something that turns into nothing, people. I've had stage fright doing my own podcast because I've been overthinking the little things. Let's segue into something fun that will turn into a stand-up bit in a few months. By the way, this is the Tom Kelly Show, the podcast where one comedian, Tom Kelly, owns his midlife crisis and goes on a journey to share laughs and share his personal growth with you, the Tom Kelly Show audience. Make sure you join our secret Tom Kelly Show fan group on Facebook. That's where the offbeat go to meet, and it would be fun to just watch you guys become friends with each other using me as the friend in common. That's where the network is going to start. That's my ask, is I just want to do something nice for you. All right. Now, I have been on a journey where I am trying to go to churches. I am trying to go to church every Sunday. Maybe not always the same church, but I have been going to Hillsong Church, which is kind of like, imagine if Jesus had a fog machine. That's my way of summing that up. But the good thing I've gotten out of it is, it's funny, and it's funny, a couple of pretty girls who shot me down kind of got me thinking about that church again. And my therapist asked, Tom, are you going to church for deepening your relationship with Jesus, or are you going to church to connect with hot chicks? And the answer is yes. But being real for a minute, I know that for a while, I think you guys know that because you've been with me on the journey. I've been looking for something that is more for quite some time. And the one thing I've gotten out of this church is that's a church full of people who are actually reading the Bible. Sounds crazy, but I've read pieces, I've heard pieces, like my friend Jeremy in Ohio, he's like, Tom, I like to listen to the Bible instead. I'm like, and he has a valid reason, because he's like, Tom, if you think about it, nobody could read the Bible until the year 1800, when the printing press was going crazy and books were very, very, very popular. And Jeremy's not wrong. But I've just decided, people have gone to wars over the Bible, and if I'm going to walk around as a Christian, maybe I should read the book about Christ. And the cool thing about this church is the guy who's the pastor, a guy Christian something. He has a hot wife named Denny, but that's a whole other thing I shouldn't be talking about if I'm talking about church. But hey, there you go. But Christian, an Australian who is from Sri Lanka, had a great, he gives great speeches. He's a great preacher. And he gave a straight line of advice, which was read the gospel starting with the book of John. So for those of you who went to religious school, the gospel is the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's a quiz on a Bible test. What's the gospel? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And he suggested you start with the book of John. And you know what? If you want to feel God's love, read it, people. It's an easy read. I read it in a night and a half. And basically, I'm reading a page or two on a beaten up old Amazon Kindle every night. And I'm going somewhere with this. Instead of watching Breaking Bad before bed, which I've been doing again, and having dreams of being a chemistry teacher turned meth dealer, why not put something wholesome and spiritual in my head? So I'm now up to the book of Matthew. And yeah, there's just been a few nights where I'll read and then I'll find something I need, like without being on the structure of, reading what everybody else is reading in a Bible study. Like I read one day and it was the Beatitudes. And then this is the book of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 57. And it reads, and they were offended in him. But Jesus said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house. I'm realizing I might be reading this the wrong way, but I'm reading this the way I want to read it now, which is the old line of Jesus was not a hit in Nazareth, and even Jesus had to play the road. I'm realizing I might be reading, a prophet is not without honor. Except for, okay, so I'm reading this wrong, but I liked reading it my way better. Because now I'm realizing, now the way I'm reading, a prophet is not without honor save in his own, or a prophet, fudge. Wow. So there you go. This is where you have to talk about the Bible in public because you realize you're an idiot. But I came to this moment that's kind of a joke, which is I sort of read this to a friend of mine who kind of rolled his eyes that I was talking about the Bible. But I have no doubt, had I changed a quote to, there was this nice piece of wisdom on Ted Lasso, he would have listened. You know, my favorite Ted Lasso line is, hey, Jamie Tart, forgiveness isn't about the other guy. It's about you. Now, that's very, very biblical, but we're willing to take it more that it came from a Midwestern man with a mustache instead of a Jewish man with a beard. Not necessarily the clip-worthy piece of wisdom I wanted to give you, especially if I'm pointing out right now. But I mean, I really thought for me what that meant was a prophet is not without honor save in his own country and in his own house. I really thought there was some piece of wisdom there for this is why your family's treating you like an idiot on Thanksgiving. Maybe not. But, you know, again, but I'm on the journey. That's the important part. I'm on the journey, and I want you guys to come with me on it. We should play that game. There is, and by the way, that is the beginning of some sort of a stand-up joke that I want to tell, which is, just that the stand-up joke is people don't want to hear you talk about the Bible, but if you give credit to Ted Lasso, they'll listen. We'll work on that. Again, one thing that comes out of the podcast is these might be the beginnings of deep thoughts that turn into jokes. This is the beginning of a joke that I think a lot of you who think of me as a friend will consider. I have the setup, but not the punchline. But some people call me a serial dater. I just prefer to tell people that I date the same way Taylor Swift dates. Something there, but not quite there. And then I'll start with a joke that I've told before, and then I'll lead it into the new joke / deep thoughts, which is, you know me, I tend to date taller, athletic women who are questioning their sexuality. And usually after 3 dates with me, they have their answers. And so I'm on Bumble Premium, and because I tend to swipe right on athletic women, I have swiped right and matched with a few transgendered women on the dating apps. And I'm not ashamed of that. Hot is hot. And honestly, if you're hot, I'll buy the drink. I'm not transphobic. I'm shallow. And you can't cancel shallow. But I also find it amazing that on these dating apps, you can filter on race, you can filter on creed, but not on whether or not somebody was born with a penis. And I'm not saying that because, again, I think I'm further ahead on trans issues than a lot of people, but I think it's just funny that the dating apps are ahead on transgendered issues, but they're still racist and anti-Semitic. You're telling me I can, I don't know. There's a thought there. There's a thought there that, I don't know. I don't know if there's a joke, but there's a deep thought. And maybe that thought this clip from the show will get me canceled. But again, if you're hot, I'll buy the drink. But but I'm not sure if I'm quite ready. Yeah, that's just a real thing. Why am I willing to date a manly looking woman, but not a woman who once was a guy? Like if I believe in faith and souls and whatnot, why am I not there yet? And I hope that whole thing gets shown one day when the last minute and a half of this show gets me canceled. That's what's going to happen, people. Is I'm going to get my chance to star on Saturday Night Live, and then somebody is going to show the clip from the Tom Kelly Show podcast where Tom Kelly admits that he's thinking about dating women who were born genetically men, but isn't quite there yet, but would do it if they were like really, really hot. I can't decide if that last sentence makes me an amazing human being or a complete piece of shit. You will have to decide in the comments, people, and I live for your comments. Is Tom Kelly a piece of shit? Let me know in the Tom Kelly. In fact, I challenge one of you to make that the question in the group, and then let's just see what people comment. Is Tom Kelly a piece of shit? Answer that in the secret Tom Kelly Facebook fan group, which anybody can join. In fact, a lot of people who aren't my fan are joining because they're fans of a guy on the radio named Tom Kelly. And yeah. All right, a quick magic mirror to John Smith Jr., a new name in the magic mirror. You know, there's a lot of you out there who listen, who don't let me know you listen. And yeah, you're missing out on your chance to be mentioned in the magic mirror. I specifically want to say hi to John, who flew in from California for my friend Rob Chaffee's funeral. And I did a whole podcast last weekend where I talked about him a lot and did not record the sound of the podcast. Rob was one of those guys where you felt closer to him than you may have been. He was, my friend Will Vogt called him jolly and positive, and he was a big guy with a big spirit. He did a lot of the new comedy nights on Long Island, but he was a supporter of other comedians. And there were moments where he supported me and made me feel like I could do anything. And I'll be honest, not to make another man's death about me, but there's that moment where you realize, oh my God, he wasn't following me on Instagram and I hadn't talked to him in a while. And you wonder, geez, did I say something that was asshole-ish? You know, did I say something to make him not want to be my friend? And there was one time where he was going to help me out on a project and then kind of disappeared. And I don't know if that's just because he found a better project and didn't want to hurt my feelings. And I'll always have those. I actually talked about it in therapy for a few minutes. Anyway. Rob Chaffee was the kind of guy who made you feel grateful to be in whatever moment of comedy you were in, whether it be on Zoom, an open mic night. He opened for me at the Giggle Room at Governor's, Marianne Stell Magic. You were at that show. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that is every comedian who ever performs in Nassau or Suffolk County, you know what? We all feel a little less special today. And I want to just commend John Smith in the Magic Mirror, who flew out from California for the wake. I was going to go and then decided to have a nice and perfect dinner with one of my older nephews on the same night. And I could go into the whys and why nots. I think I did the right thing with my time. But John Smith wrote a nice note saying, thanks for what you're doing with the podcast. And John Smith Jr., I see you. And that's what I want this podcast to be, people, is a chance for me to get rich, famous, and bang lots of hot chicks, but also for you to connect with friends and make new friends and to bond with each other. And yeah, that's my ask. And you know what? Let me do one other ask since I'm rambling at the end of the show. If you have not bought your holiday gifts yet, I'm making no money off this. Kelly Banks Cakes. She's the unofficial sponsor of the Tom Kelly Show podcast in that she has not given me a single free brownie since I've started promoting her on the show. But listen, she's a friend of Michael Strahan's who's been a friend of me. And the only way I could do nice things for Michael Strahan is really, in my mind, doing nice things for Kelly Banks. And Kelly is actually one of the sweetest human beings who comes to all the shows. She just doesn't know what podcasting is. So it's actually kind of funny that we promote her here. That's kellybankscakes.com. And yeah, you know what, man? Do just what I think I did in this moment, which is show love where love can be shown. I, of course, mean that for me, by commenting on my stuff publicly and tagging celebrities and enrolling more people in my success. But I mean that genuinely. If you have a moment during this holiday season where you're cranky and you have a moment where you can be nice to someone, and if you hear me saying show love where love can be shown, well, my job is done. Thank you for riding this crazy train with me. Good night, New York.